Transcending time and space, let us take you to the place inside your mind where thoughts divide and mysteries unwind. Join us every Monday evening right here on Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern Time. And you will catch the Fenton Perspective with our great host, Lorian Fenton. Come listen in as she shares her amazing stories from the past to present, along with all of her guest secrets to the future. That's the Fenton Perspective every Monday evening right here from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern Time, only on Revolution Radio. Oh, and you don't need to expect us. We're already here.
Revolution Radio.
You don't see it, do you? How close we are to absolute chaos? The sick ones are sitting on their fat masses, eating and drink themselves into a stupor, polluting the world without a second thought while it goes down the toilet. Nobody wants to do the nasty work. You know, the shit that we all just think about. Most good citizens are just along for the ride and then bitch and moan and complain about everything when it doesn't work out. Not me. Get it done.
Revolution Radio, where we do the nasty work. www.freedomslips.com.
Enter into a world unseen on Raven Star's Witching Hour. You will encounter eclectic topics from the realm of spirit brought into our matrix of truth. With your host, the Solaris Blue Raven. Solaris will bring you an array of unique guests covering topics from ghostly spirits to amazing anomalies, covert technology, UFOs, and shadowy global events.
And that's right here at Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, Saturdays, midnight till 2 a.m. Eastern Time. Revolution Radio, where information never sleeps.
Let the magic rise.
Did you ever feel that things were not quite right? That everything was just ever so slightly askew?
Do you have, to paraphrase Morpheus, a splinter in your mind?
If you're interested in hearing the latest information about UFOs, the paranormal,
ancient cultures and structures,
monatomic elements,
longevity,
fantastic discoveries in science,
downloaded to your brain,
then tune into us. Hi, I'm Dave.
And I'm Mackie.
And we are Shiny Side Out, Sundays 2 to 4 a.m. Eastern. See you then.
Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com. You don't need to expect us. We're already here. Revolution Radio. You're listening to Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, 100% listener-supported radio, and now we return you to your host.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Talk Now Radio. With this, your host, Royce the Redneck Radio Man, being brought to you by Revolution Radio, where listener-supported radio, where information never sleeps. I'd like to remind everybody real quick, like if you get a chance, pop a little donation in here over on the left. You'll keep everything on the servers, and you'll keep the sponsors out so that we can keep the information free and cover the information that a lot of sponsor-supported stations cannot cover. Now, I'm going to let everybody know up front that I have made a mistake in my scheduling, and I scheduled Tommy Hawksblood and Gordan Gianninoto both for this here time slot, and both of them have been gracious enough to share this here slot. So we're going to have two guests today, and I'm not exactly sure where this conversation is going to go, other than the fact that I expect it to go to interesting places. So Gordan, Tommy, how are y'all doing today?
Fine, thank you. And it's nice to be on with Tommy. I don't think I've done that before. And thank you, Royce, for being gracious. And thank you, Tom, for being gracious to let me come on, too.
Oh, greetings. It's a pleasure. I don't mind working with I like to work with everybody. I'm calling from Hawaii, so it's a beautiful day here in Hawaii for the first time in a while. The sun's out, and the chemtrails are above us.
Okay.
Oh, I'm so jealous. It's 5 degrees below zero here in Maine.
And I'm complaining about 44 degrees.
Well, we all complain about something, right?
Right.
So, guys, I've had both of you on my show separately many a times in the past, and y'all both been great guests. What I'm trying to figure out is where we're going to put this here together. Because, Tommy, I know that you talk a lot about ancient aliens, religion, and spirituality. And Tommy talks a lot, Gordan talks a lot about aliens and spirituality, I believe it is, isn't it, Gordan?
Yeah.
So there's a tie-in here, but y'all also have some differences at the same time. Now, you had a special message, didn't you, Tommy, you wanted to bring out today?
Well, it's not going to pertain to this. I'll save that for another time. I'd rather keep with the program what we're going to try to create today.
Okay.
Let's keep it with good, bad, and indifferent about aliens.
Okay. Well, before we go too much further, let's let everybody listening know that you're going to be a new host here at Revolution Radio. You're going to have a time slot. What is it? Every Friday at what time?
It'll be 12 p.m. So I guess that's Eastern Standard Time. 12
p.m. Eastern Standard Time? And that's going to be a 1 hour slot starting in what, 2 weeks?
Next Friday.
Next Friday. And right. What's your show going to be called?
Spiritual and Beyond.
Spiritual and Beyond.
Now, what happened to Robert Pepino was on?
What was that, Gordan? Is he still with us?
For 2 hours?
I think Gordon's cutting out. Okay. While we're waiting on him, Tommy.
Can you hear me?
I can now. Well?
On Fridays from 12 to 2. So are you on Studio B, perhaps?
No, I'm on Studio A from 12 p.m. for 1 hour.
He's probably got the schedule open in the other page.
Revolution.
Yes, Revolution Radio.
It looks like a small slot until they put the picture in. He is breaking up.
Yeah, he's definitely breaking up. Gordan, we may have to do you at another time because you're breaking up.
Can you try calling him back or call back in or something maybe?
Hey, Gordan, you want to hang up and try to call? Oh, you don't have the number here, do you? It's 347-688-2902 if you want to try to call in.
688-2902.
And that prefix is 347, and that's to Revolution Radio. That's not my number.
Okay, so
you can try to call from the landline. You might have better luck.
Well, I only have a cell phone, so you're going to take it the way it comes. 1, 3, 4, 7.
That's fine. It still might work better.
8.
Sounds like he's got something interfering.
2, 9.
Also, listeners, if y'all would like to call in and ask questions during the show, the number is 347-688-2902. And just to let y'all know, I appreciate all the support that I received while I was in the hospital over the last few days with pneumonia. As y'all can see, I'm all back and ready for action. And you got the number now down now, Gordan?
Start off here.
I don't know if he can hear me or not.
I can, but let me...
Why don't you go ahead and hang up, Gordan, and try to call back in, and we'll see what it does. Are you calling first, aren't you?
Bryce, can you hear all that noise?
Yeah, I can. It sounds like traffic in the background.
Well, let me run. I'm actually in my house, but they're fixing the roof, so the noise is coming in. Let me run out to the street, too, because otherwise that's going to be bothering us the whole time.
Folks, I do apologize.
Too noisy.
The last minute technical difficulties.
Yeah, so I'm okay now. I'm cruising outside.
Okay, and we got Gordon calling back in now. Okay, Gordon, you with us now?
Yeah, I am.
All right, now yeah, that sounds a lot better. Where were you at before the signal got dropped?
Well, I was, my bars were showing silver, so I don't even know how that happened.
There was something you were asking Tommy, though, wasn't there?
It was about the show on Friday night.
Yeah, that Robert Pepino has the show on, he's had it for a year, and he's got guests scheduled right into May on that show. So it's Friday night at midnight Eastern time till 2 a.m. every Friday.
No,
so, and I was just talking to Robert yesterday, so I know he did not give up the show.
I think you're getting it mixed up. I think Tommy's was during the day and his was during the night, or vice versa.
Oh, Robert's
yeah,
at
12
midnight.
p.m. and 12 a.m. is a lot different because on the A chart they had it reserved, and they just put I just saw it put up this morning, so I know it's on the chart as of today.
Right.
Your friend might be on B channel too, you know.
No, he's on Studio A. He's
he is?
Really big.
Well, we don't have to worry about that.
Yeah, we can fix that later after the show.
They just have to look for Spiritual and Beyond, Hawksblood, and they'll see my show whenever it's on. But it's going to be 12 p.m. midnight Eastern Standard Time.
So it is going to be at midnight then?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. I'll be in bed by then, but I'll see if I can catch you over at YouTube. So, Tommy, you told me last time you and me talked in Skype, pardon my hoarse voice, like I said, folks, I have pneumonia, so if I crack during the show, just overlook it. You were telling me, though, that you had some new things going on. Can you share a little something with us real quick?
Well, I've been dealing with the weather and what's happening that way and the earthquakes. We're going through a major shift. I mean, there's two more magnetic poles, and they're all affecting the current and the flows of the energy on the planet right now. People say, how can that be? Well, we had the true north and then the magnetic north. And since the whole shift that happened recently, we got a third pole now. But what I'm involved with and trying to bring awareness to is the fake snow in the United States. There's multiple sites online showing it. They put scientists out there saying it's not real. But even in New York City, where they have fake snow, because I had 3 people, including my brother, who's a scientist, check the snow. It actually starts on fire and burns and different things. So they released a statement in Long Island saying a company's polluting the sky with some kind of ash that's affecting the clouds. So that was their excuse for it happening. But it's happening all over the United States, not just one place. From Texas.
I was going to say, though, Tommy, that Gordon here works with the pole shift. I was wondering, Gordon, have you noticed anything about an extra pole in your research?
No, just that the crust floats over the core, and when Planet X grabs the mid-Atlantic ridge as it goes by, it's going to slide the whole crust up over the North Pole of the core, and when it lets it go, the new North Pole will be the eastern tip of Brazil. So there's a lot of magnetic stuff going on right now, but the Planet X is about 34 million miles away, and it's grabbed the magma that comes up in the middle of the mid-Atlantic ridge from Iceland to Antarctic. And the crust is granite, and it floats on top of the iron magma. So when it gets grabbed hard enough magnetically, it will actually slide. And as Planet X goes from below the ecliptic to above the ecliptic, it will slide the crust right over the North Pole of the core, which never changes. So there is a little bit of drifting going on now because Planet X is laying on its side with the North Pole of Planet X pointed at the equator of the Earth.
I take it what you and Tommy are referring to are different types of poles then.
Yeah, well, yes and no. I mean, there is some. See, the magnetic pole of Planet X is churning up the magma, and that's causing the magnetic poles to drift around. And they have said that there's another North Pole, like he says. But I'm talking about a polar shift in terms of the movement of the crust being slid over the core, and the core has its North Pole pointed upward, so the crust will be sliding until it leaves the Recife, Brazil. The eastern tip of Brazil will be directly over the North Pole when it stops. So you can use a great circular calculator with the North Pole and your location, and then you can do the great circular calculator from Recife, Brazil to your location, and from that you can tell how your climate will change.
Right. Now, guys, while we're having this conversation, I'm going to do this a little differently than I've ever did it with the both of you, because usually, as y'all both know, I kind of turn the floor over to the both of y'all and let y'all get everything out. But remember, we're dealing with two different parties today, so in the interest of giving everybody a little slot, let's try to keep a little kind of, summary type formation, going in there to give everybody a chance to speak, in other words.
Yeah, I have no problem with that. I'd like to comment on the fake snow if I could, though.
Okay. Well, let me run this by Tommy real quick, though. Now, Tommy, I take it you were talking about a different kind of pole than he was then. Have you heard anything of what he's talking about?
Oh, no. They're kind of separate, like he said. I mean, everything's affecting the planet right now, but there's a lot of things that are causing a lot of the problems that we're having with that. And personally, the HARP system's involved with part of the serious problems that's going on. The fracking inside the United States and in Hawaii, plus the chemtrails, why they're doing it. So there's a lot of things going on that's relating to what's happening. I mean, there's a lot of videos up online now. They're in the Antarctic. They're cutting giant slabs, like blocks and blocks long, perfectly square blocks out of it, and moving them somewhere. Nobody's following up where they're bringing all those blocks and stuff. Then again, like I was involved with fake snow real fast. Is like I have multiple people checking that. And the problem is there is chemicals in the snow, very toxic. So there's a city in the United States, all the people got sick. And then right after it snowed, they just covered the whole sky with chemtrails again the following day. But I'll let you say what you wanted to talk about the fake snow.
That's
okay,
true,
well, I got to tell you, Tommy, that fake snow stuff drives me nuts because I grew up in New England. I was born in New England. I've lived in New England like 98% of my life. And I also am a smoker, so I'm very familiar with butane lighters. And I can take a butane lighter and light it and hold it up against a concrete block where there's nothing that's going to burn, and it will leave soot on it because butane burns very imperfectly. So anything I put a butane lighter to is going to have black soot on it. That's the first thing. Second of all, there are impurities in the air, and everybody does love clean air, so I'm not denying that there are impurities. But people have to realize that water has a special quality. It's a phase change. And if you have a glass of ice water, it will stay 32 degrees no matter what until the last piece of ice melts. Then it will go to 33. So when you take a piece of frozen and refrozen snow, which I've got 2 feet of it in my yard and plenty of just solid ice, and you take that inside and you hold a butane lighter up to it, it takes quite a while before you get the first drops of water. There's a famous video that's 14 minutes long about the fake snow, and at the very end, in the 14th minute, you see that there are drops of water coming. The reason why is because you have to warm up an area of the ice that's at least an inch deep before you get the first drops to fall. And I would have no problem about going outside and chopping up some of that ice in my yard and putting it in a drink and drinking it right now. And there's nothing toxic about it, and there's nothing fake about it. Now, in some parts of the country, I'm sure there's all kinds of stuff, viruses, bacteria, and people can get sick and stuff like that. But you can never convince me, no matter how long you talk to me, that there's fake snow. I plow snow for a living. I know snow about as well as anybody, 65 years old, and I can go get a piece of snow from the yard and put a butane lighter up to it. It will get black soot on it, and it will take about 10 or 15 minutes before you warm up a large enough area around where the flame is in order to get the first drops. If somebody were to take a piece and put it in a bowl in a microwave oven or on the stove, then you would clearly see that it's real ice and it melts into real water.
All right. Well, I'm not going to debate you on that because I dealt with a few scientists on that, specifically the gas that it produces when it's burning. Plus the fact I saw a person take a blowtorch to the snow and there was no water after they melted it all. This is different parts of the United States. Like I said, I don't want to debate that. There's a big whistleblower online right now who worked for the government testing the chemicals in the air. And she said, I'm giving my life up for this. And here's the places you can send the water to have it tested to see what's in it. I don't know if you know Michael Murphy, who actually produced What Are They Spraying? What in the World Are They Spraying? Well, he has kits. You can have these kits and test the water and test what's in it. And there's only certain labs that will tell you what's in the water. They're actually putting nanoparticles in the water right now in the chemtrails. So there's multiple things that are happening, and I know most people don't want to believe it or accept it. Like I said, that's why I'm pulling away from that stuff, because most people don't want anything pertaining to truth that they're not aware of.
Well,
because
I'm sorry, Tommy, I didn't know I was interrupting you.
No, it's just that I've been working on this for about 3 months now since I first found out about it, dealing with a couple scientists. And again, Michael Murphy, this woman that's online, she did a convention about 2 hours long, saying the chemicals she found in all the molecules in the moisture and the rain, how toxic they are. They're all metals, including, I won't get into some of them, but the basic metals are in it: barium, strontium, and aluminum. Plus, I'll also go into toxic chemicals and now the new nanoparticles they're putting in the chemtrails. In Hawaii, I watch them spray every day. I watch, there's a new kind of thing that they use. It's a bomb, and it explodes round, and then it spreads out like a diamond or a star, and then it stays in the sky for the whole day. But there's ways to test the water to see if it's normal, clean, and healthy, which none of the water in the United States is really. You might want to drink it, but I wouldn't. I can't even drink the tap water in Hawaii. It's toxic. So when people say, well, everything's fine, it's fine if you want it to be and you accept it as that. Like I said, I don't want to debate fake snow because there's two sides to it. I'm dealing with 3 scientists personally. One's my brother, and I don't think he would lie to me because I told him about it and he said, you're crazy. So, yeah, he's up in New York State, too. So, he went out just last week to prove it to me. He said, I didn't believe it. Also, I saw people take blowtorches to it. So, yeah, there's different things.
I was going to say, I think a lot of the problem is that, Gordan, you may not be considering the fact that the snow can be fake here in America somewhere, Dakota or somewhere, but yet be real where you're at.
Well, I don't know. See, I don't know what all the snow is like, but I can tell you that it's Saturday. It's going to be 41 degrees, and it's going to start melting like any other snow, and it's going to create wet spots on the ground. And if it's all fake snow, then I should be able to go outside and light a match to it, and it would just burn off. But so I'm not denying there's chemicals in there, because Janet and I have seen chemtrails. We've seen lines of jets creating straight lines and then turn and coming back at 90 degrees and make a grid, and then the whole thing spreads out and it's overcast and cloudy. So, you know, I know what they're doing, but it's not enough to be toxic.
I'm betting they just haven't got up to your area yet. That's what I think.
Well, you know, it's different sections, and basically it's the whole world they're spraying with chemtrails. It's not just in the United States. I have people in Europe and other countries, Japan even, they're spraying the chemtrails everywhere except where I can find any is in Africa for some reason. Whether they found 150 gold mines there and they're going to try to keep that land safe, whatever the story is. But they are spraying here in Hawaii. They spray every other day. So when people say, well, what's chemtrails look like? I said, well, if you see clouds in the sky that form grid works or any kind of weird patterns and they stay there all day, they're not chemtrails. Chemtrails is like what you would talk about, moisture, and it evaporates, and it doesn't stay there for that long of a period. I
think there's a program to outfit all the commercial jetliners with spray tanks to keep people from seeing Planet X at the 5 o'clock position of the sun. So that's what I think they're doing, is keeping, because if everyone could look up and see it, they would go, oh my God, what's that? So to keep that from happening, that's what I think the chemtrails are. But you know, I'm not, listen, I like you. I'm not trying to fight with you at all. I'm just trying to give you my side of it. So maybe this show will be pretty interesting if we keep going on with two sides to everything. That's
what I said to you first thing. I said we're on different sides because here's the main thing that differs. I think all aliens are bad, no matter what spiritual person's channeling, what spiritual person's working with them, how many people said they live with them, study with them, were on their ships. But I know one person in the United States that actually killed the Gray, and nobody else in the United States can say that. We had the blood analyzed, we had the skin analyzed, he had a couple pieces of it left, the ship came and took it. He actually killed 2 more. So, I mean, the whole thing about who's good and who's bad, I dealt with government programming. I was a past life regression hypnotist, so I know how programs could be put in anybody, and I know how particularly certain alien races, when they abduct somebody, they put a program in it. They don't let them walk away with full knowledge of what they saw or what they went through. So, like I said, it would be a little different.
Screen memory. Well, I got to say, Tommy, that I've been on Pleiadian ships, and I'm a reincarnated Pleiadian, and my wife works with the Zetas all the time, and she's had hybrid children. She's been invited up to visit her children that she's had that are half Zeta, half human. And, Zetas are 100% human anyway. But I say there's the good, the bad, and the ugly up there just as much as down here. So you really don't want to have anything to do with the bad and the ugly. But there's plenty of good ones. And I've had their ships in my yard. I've had the ETs in my yard. I've had the ETs in my house. And I've never had a bad experience. And neither has my wife. So this is going to be an interesting show, Royce.
Turns out, Gordon, that I misunderstood you because I always thought you said all ETs were good, but you don't. You agree with me that some are good and some are bad.
Exactly.
Now, Tommy, though, you, on the other hand, you say that they're all of them are bad, there are no good ones, or am I misunderstanding that?
Well, here's the thing. Every race of being has an agenda, whether it's the Greys, reptilians, the Nordics. Even the Nordics travel with the reptilians, so they're not good like people think they are. I did a conference with a person that works with the Nordic all his life. And I said, what did they really do to prove that they were super or had any powers or could help change the world? And obviously it was absolutely nothing. So what I'm saying is all these races, the reptilian race is interfering with planet Earth. They are abducting people. They are killing people. And the Greys are eating people. So with those two things going on, the Syrians, Andromedans, all these other races, the Draconians, they can't stop that. And they can't help us with that. So, even the Galactic Confederation, they believe Ashtar is going to come down with his ships and stuff, which is a government program. So again, like I said...
I don't believe that Ashtar Command stuff at all, by the way.
Oh, no. It's pretty hard to, because everything they prophesize doesn't ever happen. And they'll always say, well, that was in a different dimension. It happened in the 5th, 6th dimension. And that's why we don't see it. I said, well, that doesn't help us physically then, does it?
Well, the same thing goes for the Pleiades. I hear that that's all done in the 4th dimension. And they're supposed to be the good guys.
Now, I always say that we're about to go to a 4th dimensional planet. There's going to be like a graduation. And 1,000 extraterrestrial races that are unselfish, not the selfish, not the bad ones, but the unselfish are here working together to slant this whole operation for success. And that this is going to happen. Well, I'm 65, so I don't know if it'll happen in my lifetime, but I believe it will. But they've divided into 40 working groups so they don't duplicate their efforts. So the Zetas have taken North America. So if you have ET contact in North America, you're more than likely to have contact with the human Zetas.
Now, Gordon, you're getting your information from being on spaceships and talking to them live. Is that correct?
Exactly. And Janet, too.
And Tommy, where do you get your information again? They're in the astral planes?
Well, no, I go through all the different dimensions, the higher levels. I try to stay out of the astral plane because of what goes on there. When the vortex in Wanacue opened up, it allowed all those negative energies to come into this world. So yeah, but I do travel to the higher realms and deal with the deities, and I don't like to use the word angels and beings, but they're soul. They're actually light bodies, which don't exist in the astral plane because you have to stay in your astral body when you're there. But getting back to the different races.
There are many, many, many dimensions, and there's some really advanced beings on all of them, and they care about us.
Well, here's the thing. The human race has been on this planet for over 50,000 years. I was alive in Atlantis. I was aware of my life there. I know how it was. People in that time frame had every psychic ability. We were capable of doing anything. We didn't need people to help us at any level. Then 5 races left, 5 spiritual races left. The 4 that were here, which is the white, red, brown, and black race, yellow race, sorry, they're the ones that destroyed Atlantis. That allowed the Anunnaki to come down and start planning and programming on us. Again, the people that say they care about us and work with us, here's a simple little scenario. If you're a mother or a father of 2 children, and a little child's going to run out in the street and get hit by a car, do you wait till after he gets hit by the car to tell him that it's not going to be good or it's not right or stop him? None of these races have stopped the human race from stopping what they're doing. We've been destroying everything. Families can't stay together. Relationships are crashing. Children are growing up in this weird, altered state where everything's okay. So, again, even if they're saying to people, and say 10 million people had an experience with being on a ship and talking to a good race, what can they do for the human race on this planet? Like most of the people are channeling these divine council.
I believe, Tommy, that they can't interfere directly because it's our planet. So if they start messing around with us, then they incur their own karma. Then they have to be born here to work it off. So that's why they stay away, in my opinion.
Well, no, that's true. But a lot of the alien races are incarnating into this lifetime. They want to be on planet Earth when we go into the golden age, which will happen soon. But again, they can say what they want. The truth is, reptilian race and the gray race are directly interfering with everything on this planet. The grays have been eating the human race for over 50 years in super large numbers. We destroyed their planet, so they can't go back there. But as far as them being here, they're not doing anything beneficial for the race.
You and I agree on a lot of things, and then we get to a certain point, and then we disagree. But I would say, are you familiar with the Sumerian tablets that talk about the Anunnaki coming here from Planet X 1 million years ago, and then about after they were 600,000 years, they said, "Why in the hell are we mining gold? Why don't we create a race of slaves?" And that's why our anthropologists and archaeologists have determined that every human on Earth is the descendant of one woman in Africa who obviously was an Anunnaki female. So, I don't know why you think that we started 50,000 years ago.
I said the human race that we are, the Anunnaki were here a long time ago and left. So did other races for reasons, because they were destroyed. They destroyed the planet over and over. Yes, I agree with that. But as far as them controlling us right now, the only one that's controlling us is who we allow to control the government.
Exactly, and the government is selfish, so of course like attracts like, so they contacted selfish ETs, and that's where the MJ-12 has been with selfish Greys since, Roswell and before.
I personally knew a person in MJ-12 who is now dead, and when they were, now here's the thing, I don't condemn the government. They're doing what they feel is right for the people they work with, which means the rich people. All right, all the underground cities in the United States and other countries right now are ready for what's going to happen. They are prepared for every disaster. Again, this person I knew from Majestic 12, he told me he had honey. If you watch the original X-Files, the movie, they would show the beehive, they were inside the colony and everything. They never really explained why they were doing that. But the honey they produce can cure any disease on this planet. And that's what they were trading way back then for UFOs and everything else. So we were actually doing the bee farming.
So I'm quite familiar with bees, and also I'm quite familiar with honey, and it's a wonder substance.
But again, this was a person from Majestic 12 that had honey that was created by an alien race, which cures any disease known to man or will be known to man. And that's when he was actually killed, not much too later. But again, they do interfere with planet. Most of the lower races, or whatever you want to call them, the bad races, do interfere. They don't worry about karma. The Andromedans and even Billy Myers, the Pleiadians, all right, they're us from the future, really. they will not interfere with the United States or anything. They will interfere if we blow up another one of their ships, which we did. They said they will attack us if we do that to them. Billy Meyer's stuff is pretty right on some of it, not all of it. He started exaggerating. He started making up things to make it look better. And I spent a year debating Michael Horn because
he's an awful person to debate. I don't know how you could stand it.
Well, because he kept emailing me back.
Well, I'm just listening to this here while I'm planning to have Michael Horn later this month.
Well, we'll have to call in.
I don't know how you can do it. He's like, Janet and I met Betty Hill at they used to have these UFO conferences in New Hampshire for 4 years in a row, and Janet and I would go outside to smoke cigarettes, and we'd be standing there drinking coffee and smoking cigarettes, and of course Betty Hill would come out, and she would say she and her husband Barney were the only two people who had real alien contact, and everyone else was lying, including Billy Meyer. Then you talk to Michael Horn, and he says Billy Myers, and of course Michael didn't have any experiences, but he says Billy is the only true contactee, and everyone else is lying. So, I say everyone on Earth has already been contacted, and that was the last show I did with Royce. My wife and I talked about being up on saucers with people from the community telling them what's about to happen. So, everybody has a different viewpoint. Some of the people have a viewpoint where only they are right and everyone else is wrong. And I'm not so extreme, but I do think that they are contacting everyone because some big things are about to happen.
Well, no, I agree with you totally. And I will say there are some races, they're interfering if they're going to help you or save you in the future, which is, I have a friend that works with Sasquatch for 50 years, and he's dealing with 5 different races.
I bet I know who it is. Jack Lepis.
You know who it is.
Yep.
Right. But again, they tell him different things. They're telling him he's going to be taken up on a ship next year or the end of this year when something dramatic is going to happen. They said 3 major disasters are going to hit. So there's things that are going on with people that are working with who they work with. But I just brought out, which I wanted to talk about today, which doesn't fit into this, but they're releasing 2 Noah Ark movies this month. One's a real high core with, a famous actor. The other one's a more kind of a religious one. But they both be
the Son of God and Noah, you mean?
Yeah. So what I was trying to say, I said, look, that's when an angel came down and said, here's the information you need for this planet. That's what angels do. They don't come down to party and tell you to get a different job, get a new suit, or they don't like your shoes you were wearing. When angels or deities come down to work with somebody, it's going to be important. So when people get this stuff, like whoever told Noah what was going to happen, it's that kind of a thing. So when people say, well, I work with the Council of 9, and they said they're going to protect us and help us, and I always say when. After the world's pretty much contaminated with radiation right now, if it's not taken care of, if the race doesn't come down and really purify the ocean or stop it or something, the world's going to be in a lot of trouble within the next year. It's already starting on the West Coast. It will hit in a month, the West Coast.
Well, how about you in Hawaii? It can't be good there.
Well, if you look at the charts of the flume, it's just skimming the top island of Hawaii all the way up to Alaska and going straight for the West Coast. It's going to hit by the middle of the next month.
Well, I don't know if you've heard this phrase, but Maine is called the tailpipe of the nation. So everything that's anywhere in any state eventually blows out from west to east over the Atlantic, usually by crossing Maine. So we get everything eventually that was in the air somewhere. And, of course, we're the last thing before it goes out over the ocean. And it might go south. It might go out over the ocean from the Carolinas or something. But generally speaking, we have very high, like, for instance, ozone levels over Acadia National Park here. And it's not from any industry in Maine because almost nothing's happening in Maine, but it's from, all the southern states all the way down to Mexico. So we're called the tailpipe of the nation, and so we eventually get everything. But I want you to know, Tommy, that in 1985 I moved to Maine from Connecticut, and I bought a mountaintop, and I live on a 34-acre blueberry farm at the top of the mountain, and I heat with wood, and I live without plumbing. I have a beautiful well that I doused that had very little water because it was in solid granite, and then I fracked it with dry ice, and now I can get like 1,000 gallons an hour if I want. So I'm already living this lifestyle to get ready for changes. And, I would love to think that I would be rescued, but nobody's ever told me that I would. People have told me, humans, people that I know have said, well, you would probably be one of the first people to be rescued. But it's not up to me, it's up to them. And as far as I know, they're not rescuing me. So I've got hand tools, and I'm ready. I'm like a survivalist. I know what I can eat out of my yard. I've got maple trees. I've got moose, deer, and turkeys running around, bear. I'm 2 miles from the salt water. I can go catch flounder and mackerel and cod and hake and pollock, and I can catch lobsters and crabs. I can eat mussels and clams. I can eat seaweed. So I've done what I can to get ready for anything, and that's all I can do. It isn't really up to me whether I would ever be rescued or not.
Well, Tommy?
No, that's the most perfect way to live, and I'm not going to deny that at any level. I have a friend of mine who's actually starting a spiritual community in Costa Rica right now, and he wanted me to go out there, but I have a very sick partner who I stay with. She's a lama, but she's in extreme pain and stuff, so I would never leave her unless she died, so I can't move out to Costa Rica. But he's starting that. The communities cost $25,000 for a completely off-grid house in this community that he's creating. Then he's going to have the farm and everything else. He's going to have a survival camp. He's going to have a whole bunch of different kind of classes going on. And he asked me to come out there 1 week a month and to work with some children.
Yeah, and I built my house. It's 1,000 square feet. I built it in 4 days with 3 friends helping me. I designed it and cut every piece of wood. They nailed it in with air nailers. And it's at the top of the mountain here, and I can see about 45 miles out to sea. And people don't know that there's from New Hampshire to Canada is 300 miles, but in that 300 miles, there's 3,000 miles of shoreline because the shoreline is so jagged. And then offshore, there's 3,000 islands. So from my yard, I look out at 300 islands going out 45 miles to sea. And I heat with wood, and I'm just living a less is more lifestyle.
No, that is a beautiful life. I mean, here in Hawaii, we got multiple toxins. We have the geothermal. I live right near it. It keeps me up half of the night. They're going to put 4 more in this year. We have the volcano putting poisonous gas in the air all the time. It's called VOG here. I went over the other side, and I was definitely sick by the time I went back. Then we got the geothermal, which is putting out toxic gas in the sky, too. So, yeah, the most beautiful place supposedly on the planet is very toxic. And people don't want to hear it, but, I live here. And they say, aren't you afraid? I say, no, I'm not afraid. I deal with God, and when God wants me, it's going to take me. So what am I going to do about it? Fight?
Right. I've got a Geiger counter, and I take it to the grocery store, and I read all this California produce and stuff, and I've never gotten a reading yet, but I'm still doing it. And I asked the store owner if he wanted to pay me to do that once a month, and that scared the hell out of him. He did not want me to do that once a month.
Oh, no, then it'll scare the people away. But a friend of mine here in Hawaii had a Geiger counter, and we asked him if we could go around the island in his boat and measure it, and he said yes. And then he was actually put in jail last week. He had escaped from Alaska, so it wasn't a good thing. But we wanted to use the Geiger counter, but we ended up never finding it or getting it. But it was one of the top of line Geiger counters that does like 120 tests in the air and the ground. But yeah, no,
I don't have a top of line one. I have one from the Cold War that I got at a military surplus store for $100, but it works quite well, really.
Well, there's
I
like
haven't
6
found
different.
anything in the because I can take a piece of radioactive granite, because people don't realize that a lot of granite has radiation in it, uranium in it, and it reads on the meters, and I can take a piece of granite, it will read that. But when I go in and do California cheese and check California anything, yogurt, vegetables, fruit, it doesn't read anything yet. But I won't be surprised when it does.
Well, California, I just heard my aunt's out there, and she just said a lot of the surfers are starting to lose their hair. In Japan, the children are already being deformed and different things like that, and it's starting to happen out on the West Coast already. Hawaii is covered with people that can't breathe, lung problems, breath, all different kinds of respiratory problems because of the chemicals in the air. So they brought specialists in about 4 months ago to see why everybody's getting sick. And obviously they don't look where the trouble is. They try to look in the hospitals and the food. And they don't look into the air and the ground and the water. We have that skin-eating virus that can kill you within a week. It's not, everybody doesn't get it, but if you go into the hot ponds that are here and you got an open cut, there's very good chances that you'll get it. So we have so many things going on this, to me, it's still a small island. As far as beauty, we got trees, we got perfect weather. That's about it. I mean, if you like rain, we've been having so much rain the past year now because of all the chemtrails. So yeah, it's a different kind of a reality here.
We normally get 40 inches of rain a year, and I think this year we're going to end up with about 80 inches. Because I was telling everyone last June that we were living in a rainforest. We couldn't understand it. It rained 29 out of 30 days in June. It was ridiculous.
Well, Hawaii, the Big Island, has the highest rainfall in the world because it usually rains every single night, half a year at a time. Then it rains half on and off during the day. So, yeah, we get lots of rain. I'm glad I don't mind rain in general, unless it's washing away your driveway or something. So, yeah, it's...
Right. Well, that's why I don't... Rivers give me the heebie-jeebies, so that's why I live up on top of a mountain. I love it. And another advantage is in the summer when there's a lot of black flies and mosquitoes, as soon as about 10 in the morning and the land heats up, the air rises and it sucks cool air off the ocean. So up here on top of the mountain, I get a sea breeze every day, 35 to 45 miles an hour. So this is the only mosquito-free place in Maine other than other mountaintops.
Tommy?
Yes? Sorry.
I'm going to ask you, dude, what is your take on Nibiru? Do you agree with him that it is going to be returning and it's probably close?
Well, there's something returning, but what it really is going to be the biggest question. I spoke with a lot of elders. I danced all over the United States, sat with many elders, listened to their stories. One of my teachers was the first native person to talk about Nibiru. He came out, his first lectures were about that. Within 2 years, he was abducted by the government, and they smashed every bone in him, and they reprogrammed him and everything. So, yeah, they don't want the truth of that out. Whether, like I said, I'm not going to say the Native people have a real truth, but they believe that totally. They work what they call the star beings. They don't know what race it is even. So, that to me, that's a critical point to realize. You're going to be helped by a race when there was 50 million Native people here 200 years ago. And now it's less than 750,000. When do they come down and help you? When you're down to 10 people, which it's going to be within, as far as full-bloods in the United States, that's being eliminated as far as living on a reservation, because they're going after all the reservations right now. So, yeah, there's a lot of things happening at every level. Again, I don't blame anybody.
Well, is there some reason to want to eliminate the Indian culture?
Realize the white people always respect the Native people or disrespect the Native people as being entities and demons. The reason why they were okay with killing them was because they called them the devils. They were redskin. That's where the whole thing of redskin came out of. So, yeah, it's a race that they were afraid of, always. When the last Native war happened at Wounded Knee, it was based on they were going to do the ghost dance and bring down spirit. Even though it wasn't real. They were going to put on a ghost jacket and be bulletproof. That's what they thought. The cavalry and the armies, they just said, we can't let them do that, because they were afraid. And to this day, they still have that quote, afraid of Native people. And the Native people hate white people. So it's I'm not talking about people off the reservation. Like I said, on the reservation, it's so different.
Well,
but again,
I know for a fact I'm a reincarnated Pawnee, so...
Okay.
From my study, it seems like the whole issue really started back in the Cautious Mountains with a red hair, blonde hair, blue-eyed race that started making war across the Hindus nations and then into Samaria from there and back into Egypt. And it doesn't seem to be just strictly against the red men, but also the black and other colors as well.
Well, let me just say this. Most people don't realize there was 560 tribes in the United States. Only one of them was inside the United States originally. Only one tribe. Not 10, not 20, not 30, not 40, not 100. All the other tribes came from different parts of the world. And I'll tell you what race it is. It's the Hopi race. They lived underground, and they came out to meet the white man. Wrong thing, but they tried it. But the Hopi prophecy is all about that. And they said the world will be destroyed if the white man doesn't unite with the red man, which isn't going to happen. Again, the Tibetan people's prophecy is very similar in every way to the Hopi prophecy, because the Dalai Lama sent a whole bunch of Tibetan elders to India, to the Four Corners to sit down with the Hopi elders, and they put the prophecies there, and they were both exact. But if you notice, Tibet is completely taken over by China and completely destroyed now.
Well, I can't believe that this is solely just the whites are doing it, or the Caucasians are doing it. I believe that there's got to be a certain faction of the Caucasian, because I know a lot of people that aren't on a government or a religious level are really quite friendly toward the Native Americans and to other races. It really seems to me to be segregated to certain groups.
Well, one Native.
Personally, I love the Native Americans, and I was the only white man present at the second time that all the Native tribes of North America met as one Indian nation. It was called the Indian Ecumenical Conference, and it was east of Calgary and Banff, east of Banff, west of Calgary, on the Morley Indian Reserve, and it was 1971. And I was the only white man there, and there were 900 chiefs and 900 medicine men and other people from each of the 900 tribes in North America, and that was one of my most spiritual experiences in this life.
Well, the Native people, I call them earth people. They're spirits of the earth. They live in and dwell within the earth. They dealt with all the spirits of the earth. Not that they really got involved with the angels, the air spirits, and a lot of the other elementals that dwell here. They did more so with the animal spirits. The tree people they work with, the rock people they work with, but there's the dragons and all the other things, the unicorns and all those kind of creatures which do exist and did exist. They didn't work with them. So I call them the earth people, and they are the caretakers of planet Earth.
Well, I think there was a time when the earth responded to, like, if you needed more rain, then more rain would fall, or if you needed warmer temperatures would come in. And then I think, and I don't know this, but I've always felt that some selfish ETs came here and changed that somehow. And I think after this shift that we're about to go through, this dimensional change, that we'll be able to go back to that. And nature will respond to man again, and man will know how to communicate. But the average person today has no clue. As far as they're concerned, they could do without nature.
Well, for me personally, I look at it totally different, because I consider the higher spiritual worlds much more important than the lower worlds. If you decide to stay in the astral plane of the physical world, you deal with this kind of karma. Once you get past the mental plane and the mind levels, you're in the higher spiritual realms. That's what I call spiritual. It doesn't exist here in the way we want it to. I mean, if everybody was loving, compassionate beings, relationships and children and everything would be 100% better than the conditions that are there now.
I think after the change, we're going to be asking our hearts instead of asking our minds. So if I ask a question, you flip through pages in your memory to get the answer. But after this change, everyone will be able to touch their own heart and know anything they need to know. That's what it'll be like. So we'll still be physical. We'll still be born. We'll still eat. We'll still die. And but we'll be in touch with the eternal part of ourselves, which is linked to the physical body and the heart.
Do you have much experience with your different bodies, your astral body and soul body, traveling and going through the different realms? I mean,
I've done all kinds of things, including projecting another me to another location, and people have seen two of me at the same time.
Well, that's astral projection and remote viewing. I mean, I'm talking about leaving the lower realms. Because once you let go,
about all these other levels, because really most people are just centered on the stuff that's going on around them all the time. But I've spent hours, days, months, years meditating and controlling my mind, and I learned to concentrate, and then I learned to stay awake and eliminate even that last thought in my lower mind. and I was able to tune into my higher self. So I've had a lot of very interesting experiences. Actually, I've never talked about any of them with Royce on any of the shows that I've done, but yes, I have. I've had some very interesting experiences, very spiritual. Really, they've opened up a whole big world for me that when I was a child I didn't know anything about.
Okay. Now, guys, I thought I'd let both of y'all know that we're going to be interrupted here in just a very few couple of minutes for the mid-show break. Thought I'd remind everybody that the call-in number, when I moved to share Skype right in front of it, give me a moment real quick, folks, is 347-688-2902. And don't forget, while we're going to break, if y'all like Revolution Radio, you'll want to keep it going, pop over there to the donation meter while you're listening to the break time music go, and you can take care of them real quick. Guys, so far, I think we've had a very interesting show here. I know I've definitely enjoyed hearing both of y'all's views, and, you know, actually the three of us, we come together in a lot of areas, I think, even if we don't come together in all of the areas, but I think it makes for interesting conversation.
Yeah, and I think we're trying to talk about the same thing, you know, that it's really, that you've really got to you know, make a decision to live at a higher level than most people do.
Well, there went that music, I promise. It's signaling that we got break time. So, guys, why don't we just wait this one here out? Y'all get you a drink or go get your breath of fresh air. And we'll be back in about, well, guesstimate at 5 minutes. Don't tarry too long. I might be a little bit off on that.
Radio at freedomslips.com. We'll be right back after this message.
Hello, I'm Benjamin.
And I'm Jasmine.
We are inner tour guides with black belts in the art of self-awareness and how to live a passionate life.
We love talking with you about what you have and what you want.
More importantly, we want to explore with you how to bridge the gap between that wanting and bring it right back to the having.
So what are your hopes, dreams, and desires?
Is it money, love, success, health, wealth, or something even more specific?
Let us guide you through the exciting adventure of turning what you want into what you have.
Come join in the conversation on our show, The Inner Revolution.
We look forward to exploring with you.
Hey, Truther Junkies, it's me, Angela Black, and I'm back. Join me every weekday except for Wednesdays from 5 to 6 p.m. Eastern, Studio B on Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com for my news show, At This Moment 2014. See you there.
The finder of lost children and missing persons. Monique Lassan. Surveilling civil and criminal investigations. I investigate.
No, I am the chosen one.
Do not underestimate the power of good, and do not dismiss the strength of the child.
Yes, every Wednesday evening on Revolution Radio, come join our very own Eye Investigatrix, Monique Lassan, with her private Eye X-Files.
So you're the finder of lost children?
Private Eye X-Files, every Wednesday from 10 to midnight Eastern, Studio B, on Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com.
I realize it's very hard for you to take in. But is your destiny to find the golden child?
Guess what, man? You got the Nighthawk here, man, and I'm telling you, news, information, and entertainment, and everything that is so awesome about Revolution Radio is right here for the taking. But, you know, Revolution Radio's hosts keep it hopping and rocking year-round, 24/7. And I bet you have a favorite host, or maybe you got many favorite hosts, right? And I'm also betting you didn't catch every show. So now you can order the Season 2013 podcast disc. It's all of your favorite host shows, each show, depending on who the host is, from 2013. For now, $30 per host, which means that you get the podcast of every broadcast in 2013 that your favorite host did, starting in February, actually, this year. And not only do you help fund the station by picking these up, but you help fund your favorite host's work, because I split the proceeds of the sale with the host, less the shipping, of course. So this is just $30, and you get a data DVD that has every podcast for the entire year. Whose podcast are you ordering? Well, all you have to do is visit freedomslips.com/season2013.htm. There's a little box. You type in your favorite host name and click pay. And when you're done, you will receive your podcast disc in 7 to 21 days, depending on the demand. Hey, man, I'm just one guy, right? Anyway, and as an added bonus, man, if you order more than 5 hosts season DVDs, I'm going to give you a free 1-year access to our daily archives. So, man, don't miss out. It's all here. It's all here. You can help us. You can help the station, help fund the station, and the host get half of it, which means you get to help fund your favorite host. I mean, how could it be better? There is no other station out here that does that. So thank you very much. This is Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, man. You're listening to the Nighthawk, and I'm telling you what, man, this is where information never, ever sleeps, including me. Revolution Radio.
Join Revolution Radio every Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Time on Studio B for Momentary Zen with host Zen Garcia at freedomslips.com, the People Station.
He wants a challenge. Let's give him one.
The voice that whispers in your ears are the screams that you fear. The mind you cannot defy is the heart that rules mankind. The people who made you are the gods that will save you. I am Steve Travesty. I am the voice. The ghost in the machine. Ghost in the Machine, Tuesdays, 8 p.m., Studio A.
Right here, Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, where information never sleeps. Revolution Radio. You're listening to Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, 100% listener-supported radio, and now we return you to your host.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Talk Now Radio, brought to you by Revolution Radio, a listener-supported radio where information never sleeps. And today we're talking to Gordan Gianninoto and Tommy Hawksblood. We're discussing Planet X, UFOs, ancient mysteries, and a few other things while we're at the topic level. Real quick before we get re-involved, I'd like for Tommy to remind everybody once again about his new show coming up on Revolution Radio and how everybody can find it and what the name of it is. Tommy, go for it.
Hi, everybody. It's Spiritual and Beyond. It'll be on Fridays, 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's a 1-hour show. Please stop by. I answer and want call-ins to answer and call in for questions. So it's open all the time for that. But I will be getting into specific topics each night. So listen to the topic before you call in. I also am on my 4th book, which is just about done. My 1st book, How to See God. 2nd book, When Truth is Called Crazy. My 3rd book, Truth Beyond the Illusion. So they're all out. I will send anybody a book if they want to read it as an ebook. So email me at hawksblood1@AOL.com. My website, www.howtoseegod.org,
isn't it?
.org, sorry, you're right. Any info, please feel free.
All righty. Now, Gordan, do you have a website?
No, I don't, and I'm not selling anything either. So I'm just doing this out of my enthusiasm to share what I know with other people.
Right. Now, you've always been that way ever since I've known you.
Yeah, and Royce, I'd like to say that, I'm living on Social Security month to month, so I'm not fat with cash, and I'm sure there's a lot of listeners that feel the same way or are in the same situation and can't really donate any money. But to those, I would say, please, if you can't donate any money, but you like this material and you like these discussions, which you're never going to hear on regular media, please call up 5 of your friends and say, "Listen, you got to be tuning into Revolution Radio to tune in on this." So I think that's a way that people can help this expand, because we can get more listeners, and a certain percentage of them are going to have some money to donate, and that would help the station. So, like Roy said, if you wanted this to stay on the air, donate money. But I add to that, if you can't donate any money, then at least call up 5 of your friends and say, "Listen, you're missing out by missing this stuff. This stuff is not going to ever be on the regular media."
And I'll add to what Gordan said. In addition to that, you'll probably be doing them a favor. You can be rest assured if you enjoy the show, they're bound to enjoy it too, more than likely.
Right.
So now, guys, I kind of lost my place where we were at, but I remember we were discussing the return of Nibiru, weren't we?
Well, we were, yeah.
Sort of.
Sort of.
See, I think that the last pole shift was 357 years ago when the Jews were kicked out of Egypt. Because, if I gave you, Royce, and Tommy brand new pairs of sneakers and started you out at the Great Pyramid, you could walk to the Promised Land in under a week. So what I say is that the reason why it took 40 years was because that was a pole shift then. You couldn't see the sun. It was cloudy because of the volcanic eruptions and the dust. All the mountain passes had landslides. And there were a lot of things going on that made it impossible to know where you were. But the time before that was Noah, and the time before that was the sinking of Atlantis. So if you look at this, we right now, and I've taken pictures. I can't take them every day. I mean, I take pictures every day, but I don't always get a clear view of Planet X. But if you're looking for it, go get a number 14 welding filter. That will cost you all of $4. And go outside with your camera and point the camera and focus it at the sun, and then put the filter in front of the lens and shoot a picture. And I don't know how often, but you will get pictures of some glowing area at the 5 o'clock position next to the sun. So I do think Planet X is here, and I think it's about to cause pole shift.
Thank you for bringing that up, Gordan, because you just reminded me to ask Tommy if from his little neck of the woods over in Hawaii, if he's been able to catch any glimpses of what you're talking about with Nibiru and the sun.
Well, I haven't been. I'm just looking at these chemtrails above the sky. Basically, I haven't been filming the sun, but I have been filming the moon. I filmed some weird things going on in the moon last month. And I'm talking as far as all these ships leaving it. It looks like a giant snowstorm hitting the planet. And this was all going on when a lot of things were supposed to happen last month. But, I haven't been dealing with the sun because I don't have the right filters, like you said. I tried using my 3D glasses to use it as a filter, but it didn't work right because I got this multiple band in there. So I will do that. I appreciate that information. I know that's real. But I just want to make another comment as far as what you just said about Noah's Ark.
Go ahead.
Since my different time frames, I was alive during certain time frames. I wasn't with Moses ever, but when he brought the people to the Promised Land, he brought the people that he felt and that were agreeing and all that stuff. But the problem is they weren't going to a Promised Land physically. They could have never attained the Promised Land on the physical planet. I mean, Jesus never talked about the Promised Land being planet Earth. He always said, my Father's kingdom. So they had to die. And that's why he couldn't bring them to the land that they thought they were going to. They all had to die, and it was the children's children that walked into the new Promised Land. And what did they do there? They killed everybody that was there. So these are supposed to be spiritual people moving to a spiritual place, and they had to remove all the people that were already there. So that's just the way I perceive it. I mean, we all have our ideas and the way we work with that. But Noah, again, like ancient aliens talks about Noah's Ark.
I think you're confusing Noah with Moses.
Well, no. When Moses brought the people to the Promised Land, he walked them around in circles until they died, and then the children's children, and he brought them to the Promised Land. He couldn't even go to it.
Right.
But getting back to Noah's Ark, ancient aliens talks about that a lot. But they really make these ridiculous statements, like they took the DNA of all the animals on the planet and put them in there because they could never fit all the animals on the planet. Which is, I mean, if you even read the Bible, you would know the story. It was 120 animals, and they were only the animals in the area where they were. The whole planet could never become flooded. It's always 76% water no matter what happens. If water comes up, land goes down. If land comes up, water goes down. So to say that it was the whole planet flooded is an impossibility.
Well, the Bible does say that the subterranean water busted up too some. So.
But again, they didn't fit all the animals on the planet inside the ark.
Right. I would agree with that. That would be kind of hard to do.
And now they're building the ark inside the United States.
Now that's news to me. What can you tell us about it?
Well, it's just type Noah's Ark.
I see that movie, but the actual story of Noah in the Bible was too sketchy for a whole movie, so they filled in a lot of stuff, and they finally admitted that they made Noah into an anti-population person and also an environmental green tree hugger. So they had to excuse that plot because a lot of Christians were very upset over how they played around with the story of Noah. But if you actually read the Bible, there isn't a lot in there about Noah. There's so much left out that you have to write a whole movie if that's what you're going to do.
Right. But no, they're actually going to be building a Noah's Ark inside the United States. It's a big project right now. Just
Kentucky.
Noah's Ark. Kentucky, right.
$73 million ark, and it's going to be more like an amusement park, really.
Right. But, see, science and religion have to play games. Even the movie Jesus that was on TV came out this week. They had to edit it because in the original movie that was on TV, the devil that comes in front of Jesus looked exactly like Obama.
I know.
And they had to cut that scene out for the movie. So yeah, it's these trivial things. Like originally, Jesus of Nazareth, the other movie that came out, when Jesus was put on a cross naked, the Christians objected to that, and they tried to ban the movie and stuff. So everybody gets involved with some trivial things, and I say, what is it going to do for the human race right now? Whatever it is.
Now, I didn't like. I guess it was Roma Downey's story of Jesus, and now she's made the Son of God, I think it is. And,
right.
I did not care for her series at all. I definitely do believe in Jesus, but I didn't like the way she just skimmed over stuff, and she just made it into basically a show instead of the real story. So I sort of resented it. So I'm not going to go see the Son of God, but I definitely am going to go see Noah.
Are these movies that are preparing the whole world for what's to come?
Well, no, the Son of God, that is the series that was on TV re-edited. There was a few things.
Well, then,
there was
that's
a few.
double reason not to go. First of all,
Exactly.
Roma Downey does a great job. I don't think she understands. I don't think there's a spiritual bone in her body. I think she's profit motivated.
Well, most people that get involved with showbiz or movie world are. I mean, first of all, it's going to cost them a few $1 million to make it, and that money has to get paid back. And so, yeah, unless you're a multimillionaire and you want to release a movie to the world to help it, that's a different story. But like, I try not to get involved with movies, even though I'd like to see Noah's Ark. I don't know if you saw the comedy version of it, where it was actually now times, and this guy was building the ark, and he wanted to save the people of this town and everything. It was really cute. But we go off subject too much with our reality, and I always say, bring it back to now. What is alien races, any alien race, what are spiritualists, what are they doing to help us? Say everything's beautiful isn't going to help us. Telling everybody not to get involved because it's all an illusion is not going to help us. Not being responsible for your children and saying, well, they're spiritual beings, they can do whatever they want, is not going to help the planet. We need to be responsible, which is the word I use, and come from a place of compassion. That would change the world. We don't need ghosts, aliens, beings, deities to tell us that. We all keep looking further and further. It's always like what's on the other side of the fence, rather than what do I have inside my fence? What can I do to make my property better? And not just to look like his property. So in our spiritual world, I was going to get into that whole thing today, because I think the definition of spiritual on planet Earth is so vague and vain, because the only way you can really experience that at any real great level is when you let go of the physical body. You let go of the mind, the emotions, the sensitivity of the nervous system in the body, and you experience it. And you know what it is at that point. For me, I had 4 death experiences. Each one was greater or better than the first. And I learned so much. But I spent about 30 years traveling outside of my body. And that's much more beneficial, especially when you're thinking about dying or leaving this planet, where you're going to go and what's going to happen when you do. So, yeah, that's the things that I have been working with most of my life. But all along the way, I've been dealing with aliens and people that were abducted and things like that. So I became much more aware of the real things that are happening in the physical world. I met many women, well, 3 particularly, that had their children taken away at 8.5 months pregnant. They were shown the child 4 years later, but that's not a spiritual thing. Not in my world. If somebody takes something without your permission, it's not a spiritual thing, and it's not an agreement. Most people say everything that happens is an agreement. No, you create karma. If you pay it off, you don't have to come back. Create karma, you have to come back and pay it. It's very simple. It's not that complex.
So then you don't believe in the theory that you sign a contract in between lives for your next life?
No, that's called when you're dying. And say you killed 5 people and you're going to die. Did you pay that karma off? No, you have to pay it off. And you're not going to go to any kind of spiritual place or a higher level until you pay that karma off. So you're going to have to reincarnate many times.
I agree with that totally. When you come into this planet, you, by definition, create distortions, and you're not free to go until you balance them all.
Well, you know, the way I word it, to make it simple, it's like a bank. You can store all the karma you want. You can reincarnate and keep putting more money or more karma into that bank. But you don't leave until you empty the bank.
But then if you get a certain accumulation, it's more than you want to pay back, you get overwhelmed.
Well, that's what happens, and you just keep creating more. So that's why people aren't leaving. If it was easy, there would be nobody here. They would go to spiritual realms and things. You wouldn't be dealing with death, murder, robbery, rape, abuse, and all those words that we deal with here. And the soul body doesn't feel pain. So
well, I think you're making an important point, because can you just imagine, what would there really even be a heaven in existence if anybody could make it in there without paying off their karma and learning their lesson? Or would it just be heaven, be called heaven, but be just like where we live now?
Yeah, what a mess. You're right.
Well, I used the word hell. Man created the word hell for a reason. It was because man didn't want to be alone where he is in hell. So he said, well, make it somewhere else that everybody goes to. And that's why you don't go there until you die. Imagine that. You can keep killing people and you're not going to go to hell until you die. And that's just the way man protects himself, the same as a lot of the crimes man creates, like sexual abuse and
But
rape.
what really happens is he don't go to hell when he dies. He reincarnates and accumulates more debt.
He comes back to hell because this is this is the only place soul feels pain, sees it, watches it, and has to deal with it at every level. Because once you let go of the body, I mean, the astral plane is very similar in a lot of ways. But once you get past the astral plane, you cut your silver cord and you go into the higher realms. You're dealing with pure spirit. You're dealing with light. You're not dealing with, oh, I feel sick today, or I got to eat something today. You don't eat. You don't have to take a shower. You don't sleep. You don't do any of those things, which the soul in the body with the mind program in it keeps it locked into those things. And here's what I say is the most important thing to man. Cheap thrills and sex. Take them away. What would man have on this planet? If he couldn't watch sports.
Money, power, and greed. That's what they'd have.
Well, what would they buy? I mean, so much money gets spent on entertainment, football, baseball, and super hobbies. I say the bigger the toy, man creates more toys to play with and more expensive toys. Going back to the old days.
It's programmed to lure people away from the true reality.
Right. Like the way you live. I mean, live without all these super luxuries. You don't need them. And you can have a much healthier and happier life.
Exactly, and I do. You know, I learned
you sound incredible.
I learned a long time ago, Tommy. In 1980, I had a wife who got cancer, and then she died. And I began to study health and disease. And everyone I talked to who had a disease, I realized they were unhappy about something. And I came to the conclusion that there's no way that you can be healthy unless you're happy. And to be happy, you've got to be happy with yourself, with what you do, who you're with, and where you live. And that's why I said, that's it. I'm not going to be a trial lawyer in Connecticut anymore. I'm going to move to Maine. I'm going to work outside doing contracting work and have clients that are actually happy to see me. And I haven't been to a doctor since 1988. What does that tell you? And I feel great.
Guys, we got a comment in the chat room by Herbal Fuzzy 1. Says heaven or hell is a state of belief. I've heard this theory before, and I was wondering what y'all's take on that.
Well, Tommy, you were talking about it. Why don't you continue a little bit, and then I'll add some.
The concept of hell is a man-created idea. It's not like it's a place. It's not like it's a real place. But it was a man-created idea, so I think that's definitely right. If it was a real place, I mean, when a real bad soul dies, they go to a place. It gets reformed, but then it gets reincarnated again. It's not like it's going to go to a place. It's like matter. Matter never disappears. It's always there. It just changes form. So you can't destroy it. So when a soul goes to the astral plane, whether he was a mass murderer or not, he'll get reformed and then he'll reincarnate because he's still not pure enough or spiritual enough to go any further than that. So he has to start all over again. But that's my viewpoint.
You know, we're all like parts of the Creator, and we're all creators in training. And whatever you think about, that's what you materialize in your life, whether you realize it or not. So if you focus on spiritual things, you're going to really grow. But if you're thinking about possessions and controlling other people, then it may reach a point where you are so selfish that you have to reincarnate in a planet where everyone is exactly like you. In other words, a planet where it's full of other selfish people. And I think that your soul would choose that for you if you just didn't get it. So I think there are places where everything is spiritual and enlightened love, and I think there are places where everything is other people trying to control you, dominate, own you, and possess you. And I think that there are some people who that's the only way they can learn their lesson is to be born on a planet where every single person is more selfish than they are. So in that sense, that might be a hell, but it's a hell of their own making. It's a hell that they have to live through. And how much more difficult will it be for them to find light and love where there's no reward for it at all? At least here in this world, there is a reward for being kind and empathetic and caring about other people and basically following the golden rule.
Okay,
well,
guys.
I just want to add one thing.
Go ahead, Tommy.
I just want to add something that we create the life we live the best we can. We are, when we come to planet Earth, the karma on planet Earth is already there. So you're stepping into this kind of a ball of karma. So what we perceive to be what we want is what we want with the perceptive mind. Because when you let go of the mind, then you realize all this is not beneficial for you to become more spiritual. Because you could have 1,000,000 experiences or 10 experiences and say, well, it helped me become more spiritual. But what does that more spiritual really mean? That would take a whole day to get into, because it's multiple things, because we want to perceive a lot of things. You can be happy. That still doesn't make you spiritual. Because a person could be living in a box, a square box, fed through a tube and be happy. Or another person could be in a mansion, everything in the house, and not be happy. So it's what we want to accept as our own reality that we're living in. We can hide from the world what's happening on the planet. Just because it doesn't affect me means it's not affecting my world. No, you're on planet Earth, which is all of us. We all live on this planet together. We all contaminate it together. We all heal it together. We all work on it together. And we don't recognize that. I mean, the native people recognize that part of it. I'm not saying other races didn't, but in general, there's a lot of races that, like you said, money corrupts the mind and so does power.
Right.
But to create what? A horrible place to live. Slavery and punishment and crime. So yeah, it's, but again, I mentioned it before, a lot of alien races are reincarnating into this world. What we lost is morals. We no longer have morals. Secondly, we have souls that are these violent souls stepping into children now. I mean, there's specials on that. I don't want to get into how bad they are, but there's multiple things that children go into now because they are that. They come in with this, like you said before, super burden of karma. How do you deal with it? They don't. That's why mass suicide and all these horrible things are happening with children. They don't know about life. They don't understand it even. So you give them a murdering game and they go out there and kill somebody. It's just a game to them. They don't know the reality of soul and spirit and karma and how they live life and what happens after. So yeah, it's awful. It's not the government. It's not aliens. I say we need to be responsible for our own actions. And,
right.
And
I say that they're auditioning for their next lifetime.
Yeah, exactly. It's definitely true. What you give now is who you are. And you can't lie who you are. People say, well, he's a good person. If you look a person in the eye and you look at their aura, nobody can cover up their aura. It's what they radiate. So whatever color you see, it's what they truly radiate. They can't hide that. So like in Atlantis, I mean, everybody knew everything about each other. They couldn't lie. They couldn't cheat. They couldn't do those things. They didn't want to, but I mean, they wouldn't or couldn't. But now, most people don't look at a person's aura. Because if you do, you can understand if he's a smoker or a drinker or what kind of energy level he's at and things like that. And it's real simple. So little things, which is very simple to learn, we don't teach people. I mean, we don't teach our children that.
Oh, no, we don't teach them anything. We don't teach them anything that they need to understand the true nature of reality and life.
And
it's really a
that
shame.
is that's the most scariest thing that I write about. And my new book is all about that. And I'm explaining, parents, when you decide to have a child, you have to decide what spirituality you are and what you do with it, how to protect your child, how to help your child become aware of that, and all those little things that people don't have a clue. You can't have a child and say, do what you want, play whatever game you want.
Listen, school is so different now than it was when I was a child, but, I was teaching the talented and gifted class at the high school. And the first time I went in there, I was shocked. There were like 5 students up front talking to the teacher, and there were 25 students in the back of the room watching TV. And I'm like, what the hell world is this? People, they say, well, they don't get an education, but they get social skills. But they're really not getting anything because they have no information they can use. Their social skills are really so superficial, and it's really tragic. I mean, I was so disappointed when I went to do that. Luckily, I got a couple of pretty bright students that I was able to work with, but on the whole, the school was I just was shocked, really, what I saw was going on in the schools, and nothing has changed that in the years since.
Well, here's something that's even scarier. When people can't have children and they go out to adopt a child, they have to pay this huge amount of money to do it. Imagine a poor, starving, or a person in a home or a person without family, and you can't afford to get them, and they still stay there. Children that are homeless or in a school and a camp and things like that, they need a home. They deserve a home. and we can't allow them to people that are poor. I mean, everybody else can have children and get food stamps and everything. Why not a person that at least adopts a child that's starving or homeless? I mean, we don't make it easy. The Native nations are a little different. They want a parent, the mother or father, to be a full blood, which I don't blame them. They want them to be able to teach their child their heritage. Not that there's much left in a lot of places, but they still want to try to keep it that way. But as far as children that we send money to other countries for them and stuff, bring them back and take care of them. Take them as your child. Don't just send money over there. Feed them what you know is healthy, because what are they going to get over there with the money you give them? So yeah, we got a lot of.
And you give let's say $19 a month, and 50 cents of it goes to the kid, and the other $19 goes to $18.50 goes to the administration.
Not only that, their minds are being filled with what the ministries are wanting them full of, not necessarily the truth, and then they could grow up with warped views.
Well, they did that to the Native people.
I was so surprised when I went to that Indian Ecumenical Conference in Canada in 1971. All the the Christian schools had taken the children, the governments had taken the children from the Indians, and so many native languages and the knowledge of the medicine man was being lost because nobody wanted to teach it. I called the Penobscot Nation here in Maine to ask who their medicine man was because I wanted to talk to him, and they said, we don't have one. We had one, but he retired. So I called him, and he goes, nobody wants to learn anything I have to say. And that's in his own tribe. So it's really, I now understand why when I was there at that conference, I was brought to tears by a lot of the things that the Indians told me. And they said, if we can just hang on until the air is like smoke, our world will come back.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of harm being done by supporting these Christian ministries that's over in Africa and other places as far as, you're giving them a foothold into the early mind with information that's not necessarily, going to come out in the best in the end, in other words.
Well, for the Native nation, you have to realize you had to go to Christian school. The second you turned 6 years old, you were taken away. You were brought back when you were 16. But when they turned 15, they got them into drinking before they brought them back home. Every Christian had to do it. Also know the black people had to become Native people when they were killing the black people. When they were killing all the Native people, a lot of Native people became black. Well, they considered themselves slaves. So it was a way to protect, and that's why the black race and the Native nations actually kind of merged in a lot of tribes, because it was the only way they could survive. But again, the Christian belief was forced on them, and if they didn't accept it, they were killed. It wasn't like you got to do this. If you don't, you're going to get spanked. No, they made sure that they became a Christian when they left. It did interfere with their own beliefs because many nations are Christian. I'm not saying it's wrong or right.
What you're saying makes my point for me.
Exactly.
Really?
It's really It's really tragic. But see, I think that Earth was designed as a school, and there are places in the universe where things have never changed, and there's very hard positions for slavery or prostitution or drugs or control or selfishness or racism. And I think that both sides of the issue, people volunteered to reincarnate and work it out. So even though it doesn't seem that all our problems are resolved, I think there's at least a few people everywhere around the world that have worked out all these problems and resolved these problems that had never been resolved. And I think after the change, those people will be the leaders who bring us back to the rest of the universe.
Well, here's something to think.
The future of man is to be the explorer race, and we'll go everywhere, and people will say, "Well, this is our problem," and we'll click our fingers and say, "That's nothing. This is what you do about it."
All right. Well, just think of this for a second. That's all true in a lot of ways, but there's two things I want to say. The Tibetan people, the Dalai Lamas, all vowed to come back to this planet until the last soul leaves. So they're actually condemning themselves to stay here forever. All right.
Well, this is like Jesus. I mean, he could merge with the Creator if he wanted, but
Gordon, I don't think Tommy finished.
Well,
sorry.
Well, that's just like the Tibetan part of it. But for us, as far as where we go and what we're doing is very limited. Imagine stepping out of your body into this super being, and what you can do. what you can do in the physical world, teach, write, sing a poem, write a poem, sing a song, give somebody food. Imagine what you could do, because this is only planet Earth. Imagine millions of planet Earths out there and how you could affect them all from such a high level, sending light down or sending different things down. Once you go beyond the mind and this physical body, you've got a lot more abilities, and you've got a lot more energy, and you're a lot more connected to God. So in the higher realms, you could do 1 billion times more in 1 second than you could do in a lifetime here. So if you choose to work here, it's your choice. I'm not saying it's not. But if you say, I want to do the best for everybody, then it would be all the worlds, all universes, all races. And what can I do for all of them rather than just planet Earth? Because I look at planet Earth as the people is like an ant farm. Some people will just step on it, and who cares? What do you care about an ant? But their life, we don't know what they think, how they live, what's going on in their community. But they respect their queen, and they give their lives to that queen, the same as a bee. I'm sure you know that. So they're in a different dimension or a different reality than we are. If somebody touches the colony, they fight with their lives. So we're not like that. Jesus' followers weren't like that. So we have a world with this lack of conviction. Whatever you believe, you should walk that path completely. Otherwise, don't follow it. If you're going to say you're a Christian, you're going to say you're a Buddhist, you're going to say this, you have to live that. And that's the best you can do.
Or you'll be seen as a fraud and a phony.
No. Most people are the phony. They
yeah, no,
don't
that's
walk
what I'm
their
saying.
walk.
You'll just see it. Gordon, what were you fixing to say?
Well, I agree. I mean, we're using different ways to describe the same situation. So
yeah, that's what I was noticing.
Basically, I agree with most of what Tommy says, except for the fake snow, which you'll never convince me. But on the other hand,
that's your choice.
The rest of it, I basically agree with you. I think we both, in our own words, are saying the same thing, and we're talking about the same issues, and I see a lot of agreement between us.
Oh, no, I do too. When you start walking a spiritual path, that's when you start coming together. You just don't agree with everybody, but suddenly you realize you agree on the same things. It's not like I heard you say it or you heard me say it. No, that's what I believe. It's already within you, and you became aware of that. And it's just like you're allowing that to shine out. Whereas most people follow a religion and get pulled into it and accept whatever they say. I mean, you could say Zeus was God.
Dogma will kill you.
Oh, God, I'm against dogma.
Well, we all should be. Now, see, religion doesn't have to be a dogma. People make it that.
But I think mostly religion's been designed to control people, and people fall into that trap, and they don't know how to get out of it. They don't even know that there is anything else.
Well, they don't even know they're in a trap. They think they're doing God's will.
Well, here's something that I always hate to say it. The Ten Commandments were never given to the world to destroy it. If you follow the Ten Commandments, you live a perfect life, period. I mean, there's multiple things that weren't said in the Ten Commandments because he couldn't put it on one piece of stone. But when it says, honor thy mother and father, the mother and father has to earn the respect first. I mean, there's little things that go with each one of them to make them a real thing that's important in life. So, I mean, thou shalt not kill. That should never change, no matter what religion or what path, what spiritual truth you know. And a good friend of mine who considers himself on a spiritual path said, well, what if we have to kill? And that's why Jesus said, turn your cheek. If you kill somebody, no matter what the reason, there's karma involved. If you're willing to take on that karma, you kill the person. If you're not, you don't kill the person, let them kill you, because you don't get karma by getting killed. And that's why Jesus said, give your life for God and you'll have eternal life.
You do know, Tommy, there's a dangerous doctrine out there by John Hagee that says that commandment really reads, thou shalt do no murder.
Right. Murder.
Right, I know they...
Yeah, I heard it when he did that, and I'm like, that's just like sending people right down a murderous road.
Yeah, well, countries believe that if they do that for their God, they get, I won't say what religion, I'm sure we all know, that they feel it's a reward in heaven.
But they say, his point was, if you're killing in war, you're not committing murder, therefore it's allowed. You and me both know that that's not true. Death is death.
On that, I heard one of the most one of the most famous speakers in the United States on coast to coast say that.
George Norrie?
Yeah, she was on that show speaking, and she said that, and I challenged her. I said, because you're on another country and you don't know these people, killing them makes it right, and you don't get karma for doing that? I said, when you kill children for no reason, that's not karma? Well, we had to do it. No, you don't have to do anything except die. So, yeah, I mean, people twist it. But for her to say that on radio, I called into Coast to Coast and challenged her on it. And I said, you believe that, really? Because there's multiple people that say we don't have karma no more. I said, oh, really? That's a big site. This woman's claiming that we don't have karma as of 2009. I said, oh, really? It was just taken away, and everybody's spiritual loving beings now, right?
Well, if you don't believe you're going to have karma for your actions, I want to see you throw an apple up in the air above your head and just stand there and show me it don't hit you.
Exactly.
When you can do that, I'll listen to you.
Yeah.
I mean, but really, people aren't very realistic in some of the things they say sometimes. And, if you're going to go to a site and listen to a show, I don't care if it's us talking or another host on Revolution Radio, the one on my site or Blog Talk Radio, it doesn't really matter. Why aren't you really paying attention to what's being said by all the hosts, all the guests, and analyzing it and seeing if they're saying something that don't make sense?
Well, that's why I say people need to call in. If you don't understand something, if you don't feel you heard it right, or you really want to understand something, you need to call in. And I said, you have to call in. Don't ever be afraid to ask a question. What's it saying? The only stupid question is the one that's not asked?
That's what my drill instructor used to say.
Yeah, so it's true. I mean, you live life and you're learning. And if you don't ask and you don't see or experience it, you don't know. And I do say, if people have experiences, which I believe, you can't talk from somewhere if you didn't have that experience. And if you did, when people need the answer, it's very important for them to listen. But again, if you believe in one master, you can't follow 10 other ones. Exactly. Because you're not going to listen and you're not going to accept whatever they say anyway.
Unless the 10 other ones are on the same page as the original.
Well, then they're his students. But again, we choose the path we follow, and we need to know that it's right for us and it's beneficial for us as soul. I mean, there's two things. We could be beneficial to our physical body, or we could be beneficial to our soul body. And they are separate, because the way you eat, just living in a toxic area is not beneficial. But if you know a way to purify your body and things, that's a totally different game. So you have to be aware of multiple things. Again, when I first came on the show, I said there was a chemtrail over my house, and it's still there. Really big, it's spreading out, and it's just right there. It's the only cloud in the whole sky.
Now, I've noticed here in Houston, Texas, Tommy, that when you see chemtrails and contrails in the sky, chemtrails, they do tend to stay there a lot longer than a contrail.
No, they stay there all day.
That's what I mean.
Oh, they're aluminum particles. There are all kinds of stuff to block from you seeing the sky. I mean, I have friends in Phoenix, and they tell me there's never a day, not even one, without chemtrails.
Well, the UFO activity in Hawaii is pretty high, but it's at nighttime. But I get to see the sky maybe a half hour or an hour at night.
Is somebody getting close to their microphone?
No, everything's echoing.
Yeah, that usually happens when somebody is close to their computer and they have a microphone on their computer and they got one on their headset, both.
Well, I hear you talking to yourself.
I think I did too. But I just moved away from my computer, so now, do you still hear me talking to myself? Yes, you do. So something's going on. Are you two still there?
Yeah, I'm here. I still hear you.
Okay.
Yeah, it sounds fine to me. I don't know what you're talking about, really, but
well,
you
he
sound
talks
good,
and then
Roy,
I hear him.
So do you, Tommy. So.
But I hear him, and then I hear him talking to himself. Like right after he says it, I hear somebody else say what he just said.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess that's what you hear, right?
I think so. It might be
but,
Skype.
You know, I get the most beautiful clear skies during the day and the night. But what I see is like I'm in Maine, you know, so I can go out at and stand under the moon, and the shadow of my head is covering my feet. Well, that should not be happening in Maine. There should be a long shadow, but the moon is out of position, and then it twists. And I saw the moon rise and go sideways. I've seen the star Sirius rise, and instead of rising more, it goes sideways. And like I'll come out an hour later, and it isn't any higher in the sky, but it's 30 degrees south, and I'm like, what the hell? And one day the sun rose half an hour early, and I'm always up before sunrise, so I make coffee and I watch the sunrise. And there's things that are happening that are big disturbances with the sun, the moon, and the earth, like this earth wobble with the polar vortex. I mean, it's incredible, and I attribute all of that to the Planet X being off to the side, not directly in line, but in between the earth and the sun. So,
well, we got so many things going on right now, but you're living the best you can. You're living in the right spot for you. I mean, that's all we can do. If it's wrong for us, we need to change it. And that's what a lot of people don't do. And I know a spiritual master of a whole movement of a group of people, and he wouldn't move out of his house. He said the electric lines make him sick. And I said, if your electric lines over your house make you sick, you don't live there forever.
You move on.
Exactly.
Okay, now, guys, sorry to interrupt y'all, but I show we got like roughly 10 minutes left, so I wanted to give each of y'all a chance to give any last-minute thoughts. Tommy, you had the floor. Why don't you go ahead and go first?
Well, I just want to say, everybody, feel free to email me at hawksblood1@aol.com. I will send anybody my first and second book as an ebook for free. I try not to sell anything. I try not to make money doing anything that I feel spiritual or working in that vein. So please tune into my site, my new show coming on next Friday. Looking forward to it. Thank you.
And, thank you for having us on, Royce. And, if there's anything that I could tell anybody, it's make a conscious choice to organize all your intentions and your behavior around being unselfish. You don't have to be a saint, but try and care for other people first and yourself second, and you can never go wrong. Never.
Well, now that you two have been together for the first time on my show, are y'all planning to maybe do a show on Tommy's show down the road?
Well,
You mean me, Gordan? If he invites me, I'd be glad to go on his show.
It'll be fun. It was a great show today. We agreed on most things, which is fine. Nobody can agree on everything that's exactly the same. If that was the case, we would be in a spiritual place or a really bad place. But we don't.
Well, I think the important thing is you two are both a couple of very sincere people that are really doing your best to get the word out about a message y'all do believe in. And I think it's pertinent information. And I think you two have the potential to work good together.
Yeah, I think so too. I like you, Tommy. So I find that you're saying basically the same things I'm saying. We're both talking about the same thing. We're using different words. We come at it from different viewpoints, but I think we've both learned what's important, and we don't see many people interested in that around us. And that's what we're trying to do, is wake people up.
Trying to get more people to be aware of little things that we talk about. They don't have to get involved with fake snow, but at least who they are, what's going on inside them, what they can be, how they're going to achieve that, and how to get the best out of life, what they can, and how to eliminate their karma instead of making more of it.
In the end, though, this is all about seeking heaven within, right?
Definitely.
Yeah, definitely.
In which all three of us are on the same page on that one.
Yep, we all agree on that.
Which, I think there should be more people out there with this here same message. I don't know exactly what's going on my end, but I know there's a lot of echo, and the show's about to end. So I want to apologize to everybody out there. I don't know how this happened. I think it might be a Skype issue because it was fine up until the very end of the show.
Right.
And it just started out of nowhere. So,
well, do we still have like 8 more minutes or something?
Yeah, we got about 7. You got something you want to throw in there?
Well, no, not in particular, but I just thought you were trying to push us out the door a little early, Royce.
I may have been, but not intentionally, Gordon. It's just that, well, I've only been here for like the third week now, and I know that music starts at about like 5 minutes before. It doesn't wait all the way till the actual hour. You see what I'm saying? So I'm trying to get used to exactly when to start prepping for that ending music to start.
Now listen, I'm really good friends with Robert Pepino, and I've been on his show on Friday nights at midnight to 2 a.m. many times, and I know for a fact he's not giving it up. So I'm going to tell him that you say you have an hour of his 2-hour show.
Well, just click on American Freedom Slip Radio, go to the A chart, go down to 12 p.m. and see whose name's listed there. I looked at it right before I did the show, and it was there.
You're talking about the afternoon, right? From 12 in the afternoon till 1 in the afternoon. That's when your show is.
No, I'm still talking 12 p.m. midnight. PM is midnight, not 12 noon. AM.
Okay, well, I just sent you on Skype. If I'm not talking to you on Skype. I'm talking to you on my cell phone. But I just snipped the top of the page of thewholeagenda.com, and you can see that Robert Pepino has that time slot. So you both ought to talk to somebody.
I whatever it is, I'll take it, because I was on with for the people that produced the show yesterday, and they said, well, this is the hour we have, and they said, oh, it's already reserved, and I said, yeah, because they reserved it for me. But we'll figure it out. I mean, I'm not worried if it's 12 a.m. or 12 p.m. It doesn't matter to me.
Late at night, 9 p.m. Pacific time is when Robert's show is, 9 to 11 Pacific.
Well, no, that's 9 to 11. Mine's, Pacific, 9, 10, 11, 12, 1 o'clock. It's till 1 o'clock. I don't know. Like I said, I'll look at it. I'll double check. But again, it said 12 p.m. and it had my name there for Spirituality and Beyond, if you pull up the A chart. But I'll look when I get off doing the show. But it doesn't matter to me. Like I said, whatever it is, I'll take it. But I know it said 12 p.m.
Well, you and Royce and our Revolution are both on Skype right now, and I just sent you a clip of the whole agenda, and at the very top it says midnight Fridays Eastern.
Gordon, we can straighten that out off the air. We don't necessarily have to do it on the air.
Okay, well,
if there's a mix-up somewhere, I'm sure we can catch it. I mean, there was a mix-up with my schedule at first.
Yeah, well, I want to make sure that we get this right so we can listen to both Robert and Tommy. Why not, right?
Well, like I said, if you see my name there and you click on it, it's going to bring up my show. So we'll see. Just see what's on the chart, what's there for you right now. If you just downloaded it from Freedom Slip Radio, we'll see. But like I said, I don't care. Whatever it is, I'll be doing it. It's Friday. Just look at the A schedule for my name, and it'll be on Friday.
Breaker 19.
Is that the Nighthawk?
Yeah, it's Nighthawk. You're confusing Hawksblood to death here. He's in the daytime Friday. Pepino is at 12 a.m. Saturday Eastern time. That's at midnight.
Okay, so Tommy's in the day and Robert's at night.
Yeah, they're like 12 hours apart.
Cool. Well, that's great.
Okay. Thank you for that. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I just flipped over here. I was in another meeting. I flipped over here, and I'm like, what? You're confusing everybody to death there, Gordon.
Well, I think Tommy's show is going to be great, and I wouldn't want it, but you got to tell the listeners when to tune in. So you straighten that out for us. So thanks.
Yeah. It says here he's right after Event Horizons Friday, and if you go over to Saturday, Robert Pepino's on Saturday at 12 a.m. or at midnight. Some people would call it midnight Friday, Eastern time. I live in Eastern time, so everything happens Eastern time, so I don't tangle stuff up. I can't, it's midnight somewhere 24 different times a day. So.
Okay.
Exactly.
Well, Nighthawk, I want to thank you for helping us get past that obstacle. I think I hear some of the music coming up in the background indicating that we're fixing to be off the air for the day. You got about 3 more minutes. You were actually hearing my daughter talk in the background. So, is that what it is?
A lot.
Okay, thanks.
Yep, bye.
Guys, I want to tell both of you, I really do appreciate y'all coming on the air together. I appreciate both of y'all working with me through my little mistake about scheduling both of you on the same day. I honestly think it worked out for the best. I'm pretty sure that, Tommy, that there's going to be a lot of people that heard you here today that's going to want to hear you again, on your own show. And I'm pretty sure that Gordon's going to want to be there as well.
Yeah, and I'm going to be on Robert's show on Friday, April 11th at midnight Eastern time.
Now, we got like 2 minutes left or 3 minutes. Does anybody want to throw anything out there real quick like?
Yeah, I love you, Royce. How about that?
Yeah,
I've known
how
many years have I known you? 10 years, 14 years?
It's probably been a while. I know we was in groups before you were ever on my show, so you've seen my name everywhere.
Exactly.
So, now I haven't known Tommy quite as long. You've got his site, right, Gordon?
Exactly, and I'm glad to meet you, Tommy, and it was nice to be on the show together.
You folks who want to visit Tommy, y'all can go to www.howtoseegod.org. Very important you put .org because there is a howtoseegod.com, and it is not the same site. So you want to make sure you get that right. Folks, don't forget to come join me over at my site Wednesdays at 7 p.m. Central Time and Saturdays 1 p.m. Central Time. I don't have my schedule up for this month yet, not the rest of it, because I was in the hospital. I didn't get a chance to get it up, so I can't tell you who my next guest is yet, but I should have it up later today or tomorrow. Also, don't forget to come back and see me next Thursday. I've already got guests aligned. If I could figure out who they are, I'd have to look at my schedule here real quick and pull down to them. I want to say it's going to be Emmanuel Itler, Feminine World, Healing of the World. But it's a movie coming out about women and spirituality. But that might be a later show. There might be one before that I just rushed past because I knew the music was fixing to start. And there goes the music. It's been a pleasure.
I was on your show February 15th, Royce.
Right. It was a pleasure having you guys here. I'm going to talk to y'all as soon as I get off the air here. You people, don't forget to come back and see me. And perhaps next time we won't have the interference on the Skype and there won't be a little bit of confusion. Y'all have a good one.
Thank you for listening to Revolution Radio. Revolution Radio.
You don't see it, do you? How close we are to absolute chaos? The sick ones are sitting on their fat masses, eating and drink themselves into a stupor, polluting the world without a second thought while it goes down the toilet. Nobody wants to do the nasty work. You know, the shit that we all just think about. Most good citizens are just along for the ride and then bitch and moan and complain about everything when it doesn't work out. Not me. Get it done.
Revolution Radio, where we do the nasty work. www.freedomslips.com